Morning light bathed the grand courtyard of the Emerald Spire. Thousands of alien nobles stood in neat ranks. Colorful banners fluttered in the gentle breeze. At the far end of the hall, a tall balcony rose above the marble floor. The balcony was draped in silk and gold. Princess Aurea stood there in a flowing robe of pale silver. She held her head high. Her dark hair fell in soft waves. Her pale eyes shone with strength. She looked out over the crowd with calm pride. Below the balcony, the crowd waited in hush. The human envoy approached under heavy guard. His name was Aaron Kale. He wore a simple uniform. His uniform was neat but plain. He carried a small crystal vessel on a bronze tray. Inside the vessel lay a glowing blue liquid. It was a gift for the alien people. The gift was a symbol of peace. Aaron took slow steps on the marble floor. He felt the weight of many eyes on him. His heart beat fast. As Aaron reached the center of the courtyard, dozens of alien musicians fell silent. He stopped before the balcony and bowed his head. He offered the bronze tray with both hands. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "Your Highness, I bring this gift from the people of Earth. We hope for friendship between our worlds." His words rang clear in the quiet space. Princess Aurea watched him in silence. She moved her hand to her waist. The jewels on her finger caught the sunlight. Her lips curved into a small smile. Then she lifted her hand and pointed directly at Aaron. A hush fell over the crowd. Birds in the sky seemed to pause in mid-flight. The nobles gasped in surprise. The emperor himself leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Aurea spoke with a steady voice that reached every corner of the hall. "He will be mine," she said. The echo of her words felt like a drum in a still room. The crowd stood frozen. Aaron looked up at the princess. Shock and wonder filled his eyes. He did not move his body. He could not move his mind. The crystal vessel glowed softly in his hands. Silence stretched for a heartbeat, then two. Whispers rose like wind in the trees outside. Noble guards shifted their weight. The emperor's hand dropped to his sword hilt. Aaron tried to speak, but no sound came. All eyes were on him. All hopes and fears sat on the edge of that balcony. Princess Aurea's words hung in the air. "He will be mine." The future of two worlds held its breath. Aaron's mind raced as he clutched the tray. Every muscle in his body felt tense. He glanced at the guards around him. They stood silent and still. Emotion swirled in his chest. Fear, awe, and a strange spark of hope. The courtyard seemed to grow larger and quieter at once. High above, Princess Aurea watched him with calm certainty. After the echo of Aurea's words faded, a heavy silence fell over the courtyard. Emperor Valerios stood on the balcony beside his daughter. His dark robes brushed the marble floor. His face, usually calm and proud, went pale. He stared at Aaron with wide eyes. The crystal vessel glowed in Aaron's trembling hands. Without a word, Valerios lifted his hand and struck the balcony rail. The sound rang like a bell. Guards snapped their heads toward him. Whispers rose among the crowd. No one had heard the emperor so angry. Even the wind seemed to still. Valerios's voice broke the hush. "Remove him," he ordered. His tone held both shock and fury. "Take the human envoy from the palace grounds at once." The captain of the guard, a tall alien in silver armor, bowed low and signaled his men. Aaron stepped back as 6 guards advanced. He stared up at Aurea, heart pounding. He offered the tray with the crystal vessel, but a guard held out a hand to stop him. "Step aside," the guard said in a low voice. Aaron obeyed, fear twisting his stomach. As the guards surrounded him, nobles leaned to whisper. "The princess never speaks so," one muttered. "What does she mean?" asked another. Their voices floated to Aaron's ears, but he could not answer. He watched Aurea's pale eyes. She stayed poised on the balcony, her chin lifted. Her gaze did not waver. Valerios turned to his daughter, his voice soft but fierce. "Why do you claim him?" he demanded. His words carried across the courtyard. Aurea raised her hand again. She looked her father in the eye. "He will help our people," she said simply. "His world offers hope we have never known." Shock passed from Valerios's face to the nobles below. The crowd stirred like a storm at sea. Some bowed their heads respectfully. Others frowned in doubt. The handful of human diplomats behind Erin gasped. They had expected a simple exchange of gifts, not royal drama. The captain of the guard gripped Erin's arm gently. He guided him toward the palace gate. Erin's legs felt weak. He almost stumbled over the bronze tray. The captain caught the tray and set it on a nearby pedestal. The glowing liquid pulsed softly, like a heart beating in the silent hall. Erin walked past rows of noble guards. Their helmets gleamed, their faces unreadable masks. He wondered what fate awaited him once he left the palace walls. Would he return home alive? Or would this strange claim cost him everything? Behind him, the palace doors swung open. Light from the setting sun spilled into the hall. Erin stepped inside, guided by the captain. The murmurs of the courtyard faded. He passed under tall columns carved with ancient symbols. Each step echoed in the long corridor. Once Erin was out of sight, the captain returned to the courtyard. He bowed deeply to Emperor Valerios. The emperor closed his eyes for a moment, as if to gather strength. Then he looked at Aurea. Pride and worry battled in his expression. Aurea turned away from her father and crossed her arms. She watched the empty courtyard where Erin had stood. Determination shone in her pale eyes. She knew this was only the first step. She would make him hers, no matter the cost. Late that night, Erin sat alone in his guest chamber. The tall walls were cold and smooth. A single lamp glowed on the wooden table. He stared at the empty cup beside him. His mind replayed Princess Aurea's words. "He will be mine." Fear tightened his chest. He did not know what that meant. He cared about peace, but this felt nothing like peace. A soft click echoed down the stone hallway. Erin froze. He held his breath as footsteps came closer. He rose slowly and moved to the door. He pressed his ear against the wood. The steps stopped. He heard a soft whisper. "Erin." The voice was low and calm. It made his heart race. He opened the door. Princess Aurea stood there, her silver robe catching the lamplight. She moved without a sound. Her eyes glowed in the dim hall. "You must come with me," she said. Her voice barely rose above a breath, but it carried firm command. Erin swallowed. He wanted to refuse. He also knew he could not. Aurea took his hand and led him into the corridor. The hall was quiet and empty. Tall pillars cast long shadows on the floor. Erin followed, every step echoing in the silence. His guard felt heavy at his side, but the guard waited near the door and did not follow. Erin wondered if the guard had orders to stay back. They turned a corner and entered a hidden staircase. The steps wound down beneath the palace. Damp air brushed Erin's face. He felt sweat on his palms. Aurea did not speak until they reached a low door at the bottom. She opened it and stepped inside. Erin followed. The room was small and lined with strange maps. Charts of stars and worlds covered the walls. A low table held a globe of crystal that spun slowly. Light from the globe painted green lines across their faces. Aurea closed the door and faced him. "Your life now belongs to this world," she said softly. "You will stay near me until I know you trust me." She reached out and placed a hand on his arm. Her touch was cool but gentle. Erin's fear bubbled up. He shook his head. "I am a guest," he whispered. "I cannot." Aurea's eyes held his. "This is no simple visit," she said. "My people need your help. You have skills we do not." She stepped closer. "And I do not share what I need with anyone else." Her words left no room for choice. Erin looked at the spinning globe. He saw the distant blue dot that marked Earth. He thought of his home, his people, his duty. He felt torn between fear and duty. He thought of the crystal vessel he carried, the promise of peace it held. Could he refuse a princess who might help two worlds? He met Aurea's steady gaze. His voice was quiet but clear. "I will stay," he said at last. "But I must know why you chose me." Oraya's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. She moved to the globe and touched its surface. The green lines glowed brighter. Outside, the first stars of dawn appeared. Inside, Erin and Oraya faced a new bond, one born of promise, fear, and a dangerous demand. Oraya led Erin up a narrow corridor and through a plain wooden door. Beyond it lay a hidden garden carved into the rock beneath the palace. Moonlight filtered through a glass dome overhead. Strange flowers lined winding paths. Their petals were pale by day, but glowed softly under midnight light. Erin stepped onto a cobbled path. He felt the cool air brush his face. The flowers gave off a faint, sweet scent. Tiny lanterns hung from twisted branches, but the real light came from the plants themselves. Each petal shone like a tiny star. Erin paused, awed by the quiet beauty. Oraya watched him with calm eyes. "This garden is my secret place," she said. "I come here when I make big decisions." She paused before a cluster of tall violet blossoms. "My people suffer," she continued. "Our crops fail. Our wells run dry. We face old wars once more." Erin listened as the soft glow painted their faces. He thought of Earth's green fields and flowing rivers. He thought of his home, safe and full of life. "Your world is in trouble," he said quietly. "I have seen war too, but we also find ways to heal." Oraya nodded. "Humans learn. You share knowledge. You make peace." She plucked a single petal from a nearby bloom. It drifted between her fingers, shining with silver light. "I chose you because you carry hope from Earth." She held the petal out to Erin. He took it gently. The petal felt warm, almost alive. He looked up at Oraya. "Hope is fragile," he said, "but I will try to help." He placed the petal in his palm and watched it pulse. It seemed to beat like a heart. They walked slowly along the path. Stone statues of ancient rulers stood silent around them. Moss covered their bases. Erin wondered how long the garden had existed. "What must I do?" he asked. "How can I save your people?" Oraya stopped beside a small fountain. Water trickled over smooth stones, catching the pale light. "First," she said, "we learn from each other. You show me Earth's ways. I show you our secrets." She glanced at the glowing flowers. "And then we share that gift with the world." A distant footstep echoed in the corridor above. Erin felt a twinge of fear. Guards still watched him, and secrets could be dangerous. He squeezed Oraya's hand for reassurance. She gave a small, steady smile. Under the moonlit dome, they stood side by side. Glowing petals drifted around them like fireflies. In that quiet moment, two worlds met in trust and promise. The garden held its breath as a human and an alien princess found the first spark of friendship. At dawn, a pale sun rose over the emerald spire. Princess Oraya and Erin walked through the grand gate into the training yard. Guards lined the courtyard, their silver armor shining in the light. At the center stood a stone platform with a low fence. Beyond the fence was a deep pit. Strange sounds echoed up from the darkness below. Emperor Valrios watched from a raised dais. His stern face showed no mercy. "Human," he called, "prove your worth to our world. Enter the pit and survive." His voice boomed across the yard. The crowd of nobles fell silent, eyes fixed on Erin. Erin's heart pounded. He thought of Earth's dangers, storms, fires, wild beasts. But this was different. He nodded once and stepped forward. Each step felt heavy. Princess Oraya followed at a distance, her silver robes gliding over the cobbles. She did not speak, but her calm gaze gave Erin a spark of courage. At the edge of the pit, Erin peered into the darkness. He heard low growls and saw glowing eyes shifting in the gloom. The pit walls were smooth rock. A single rope ladder hung on one side. Erin breathed deeply. He tightened his grip on the simple blade at his belt. It was a gift from the human king, a tool, not a weapon. Below, a guardian beast stirred. It was covered in dark scales and had 6 glowing eyes. Its long tail thumped against the ground. It smelled damp and fierce. Erin's skin prickled at the beast's growl. He swallowed hard and climbed down the ladder. Each rung creaked under his weight. When Erin's boots touched the dirt floor, the beast let out a roar that shook the pit walls. Erin raised his blade, but he did not charge. He remembered Earth's lessons. Observe first, act when ready. He watched the beast circle. It studied him like a hunter. Erin lifted a handful of dirt and threw it toward the beast's feet. The creature paused. A cloud of dust rose, and the beast blinked its glowing eyes. Erin took one careful step forward. The beast lunged, but Erin dodged behind a rock. He slipped his blade free and struck a stone hard. The spark caught the beast's eye, drawing its attention. He led the beast on a short chase around the pit. Each move was careful and calm. Erin did not try to kill the guardian. He used quick thinking to slip behind the beast and climb the ladder. The beast snarled as Erin reached the top. Erin grabbed the final rung and pulled himself out. Guards caught his arms and helped him to his feet. Silence fell. The Emperor frowned, then studied Erin's face. Dust covered Erin's uniform, and sweat dripped from his brow. Erin looked up at Princess Oraya. She gave a small nod of approval. Emperor Valerios raised his hand. "You have shown courage," he said slowly. "You have earned your place." The nobles cheered, their voices like thunder. Erin exhaled, relief flooding his chest. He had survived the trial. In that moment, he felt a new bond with the alien world, a bond forged by courage and cleverness. At first light, the palace bells rang through the courtyard. Word had spread that Erin had faced the guardian beast and lived. Guards unlocked the heavy door to his recovery chamber. Inside, healers dressed his bruises and cleaned his wounds. Each gentle touch and whispered word of encouragement made him feel less alone. When they finished, Erin rose unsteadily and wrapped the bandages over his arms. A soft knock came at the door. He opened it to find Princess Oraya standing there. Her silver robe was simple, yet she moved with quiet grace. She held out a small flask of healing balm. "For your scars," she said, her pale eyes warm with concern. Erin accepted it, surprised by her kindness. Together, they walked down the corridor. Guards bowed as they passed. The corridor opened onto the main courtyard, where nobles had gathered again. The marble floor looked bright under the morning sun. Erin felt the heat of many eyes on him. His heart beat fast, but this time it was not fear, it was pride. Emperor Valerios stood on the dais, flanked by high council members. His normally stern face showed a hint of respect. As Erin and Oraya approached, a hush fell. Erin carried himself with steady steps. He held his head high, despite the bandages on his arms. When they reached the dais, the Emperor spoke in a clear, commanding voice. "Erin Kale of Earth," he began, "you showed not only courage but wisdom. You faced our guardian and proved your worth." He paused, letting his words sink in. The nobles leaned forward. Erin felt the weight of their curiosity. Valerios continued, "By your clever mind and steady heart, you have earned our respect. Let the people witness your triumph." He gestured to a low platform where the crystal peace vessel stood. Erin stepped forward and placed the glowing blue liquid next to the carved stone crown of the empire. The vessel pulsed softly, like a new life joining an old one. A cheer broke from the nobles. It started as a murmur, then grew into a roar. Erin blinked at the sound. The wind carried the noise across the palace grounds. He felt warmth spread through his chest. Beside him, Oraya smiled. Pride shone in her eyes, and for a moment, she looked more than a princess. She looked like a friend. As the applause settled, Oraya reached out and touched Erin's arm gently. "You did well," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but full of meaning. Erin nodded, still feeling the echo of the crowd's praise. He realized in that moment how much he cared for this strange world, and for the princess who had claimed him. After the ceremony, Erin and Oraya walked through the courtyard. Guards saluted them, and children peeked from behind pillars, eyes wide with wonder. The palace gardeners had scattered petals of white flowers along their path. Each petal seemed to welcome him, as if the palace itself approved of his triumph. By the time they reached the garden's hidden gate, Erin's bandaged arms were no longer a burden in his mind. He met Oraya's gaze and felt a new bond of trust. The trial was over, but their journey had only just begun. In that bright morning light, two worlds stood a little closer, linked by courage, respect, and a triumph against all odds. The next morning, the palace brimmed with busy voices. Erin and Princess Oraya walked side by side through a long marble corridor. Guards paced along the walls, and noble servants carried trays of fruit and tea. Erin felt more at ease than before. The praise of the trial still warmed his spirit. Yet beneath the morning light, he sensed tension in the air. As they passed an archway, Erin heard hushed whispers. He paused and placed a finger to his lips. Oraya nodded, and they stepped quietly around the corner. Two nobles stood close together, voices low and sharp. "That human's influence grows too fast," one noble hissed. His voice was smooth, but it trembled with fear. "If the princess truly trusts him, we lose our power." The other noble tapped a finger on her scroll. "We must act soon," she replied. "Tonight, during the banquet, we free him and return him to his kind. The emperor will support our choice." Erin's chest tightened. He saw the fear in their eyes, but he also felt their cold intent. He leaned closer, voice barely a breath. "They plan to betray me," he whispered. Oraya's eyes flashed. She closed her hands into fists. Without a word, Oraya guided Erin down a narrow side corridor. The walls were lined with tapestries that told of old wars and lost heroes. Erin's heart pounded. He trusted the princess, but he worried the nobles might strike at any moment. They reached a small chamber near the library where Oraya often studied. She barred the door and turned to Erin. "You heard them," she said softly. "They will ruin our bond and harm you." Erin nodded. "They think you cannot see." He ran a hand through his hair. "But I do. I want to help you and your people. We must stop this." Oraya paced the room, face pale but steady. "I will call my loyal guards," she said. "But first, I need to know I can trust you." She closed the distance between them. "Will you stand by my side, even when others turn against us?" Erin met her gaze without doubt. "I will," he promised. "I chose to stay here. I believe in what you offer. I will protect you, and you will protect me." A determined smile touched Oraya's lips. She placed her hand on his arm. "Together," she said, "we face the court's betrayal. We show them that trust can bind our worlds in peace." They left the chamber and walked back to the grand hall. Oraya summoned her captain of the guard. Within minutes, 4 tall guards in gleaming armor stood behind them. "These men plan to free the human envoy tonight," Oraya told the captain. "I need you to see them and stop any threat." The captain bowed. "As you command, Your Highness." That evening, a grand banquet filled the palace with music and light. Erin stood beside Oraya at the head table. He felt the weight of dozens of eyes on him again. But this time, he was not alone. He heard the shifting of armored boots behind him and saw the 4 guards move through the crowd. Erin met Oraya's calm smile and knew their bond had grown stronger. No betrayal could break it now. The morning after the banquet, Princess Oraya found Erin in the palace courtyard. Guards stood at attention as she approached. "Come with me," she said softly. Erin nodded and fell into step beside her. They walked through tall gates into the grand archive. Ancient tomes and scrolls lined the walls. Dust motes drifted in the pale light. An elderly archivist waited at a heavy wooden table. His silver hair fell in thin strands. He bowed deeply to Oraya, then to Erin. "Your Highness, your envoy," he said with respect. "I have something you must see." He lifted a rolled-up scroll and laid it on the table. Aurea carefully unrolled the scroll. Strange symbols and faded ink covered its surface. At the center, a drawing showed two figures, one human, one alien, standing side by side under a shining star. The human held a glowing orb. The alien held a flowering branch. Aaron's breath caught. He examined the drawing. It reminded him of the crystal peace vessel and the moonlit garden. The archivist pointed to a block of text in an old dialect. He opened a heavy book and read aloud in simple speech. "When a stranger from the blue world stands with the silver-eyed princess at the stone bridge, life will return to the dying lands. Their bond will heal earth and sky." He closed the book with care and looked at Erin and Aurea. "This is the prophecy of old." Aurea's pale eyes shone. She raised a finger to the drawing. "Look here," she said. "See the star above their heads? It matches the crest on my crown." She placed her hand on the scroll. Erin knelt beside her and traced the lines of the human figure. The orb in the figure's hand matched the crystal vessel he had offered. His pulse quickened. He stood and faced the archivist. "Where is the stone bridge?" he asked. The old man smiled sadly. "In the eastern valley," he replied. "Once it spanned a river of light. Now the river has dried. The bridge stands alone among broken pillars." Aurea folded the scroll with determined care. "Then we must go there," she said. "We stand at sunrise, as the prophecy demands." Erin met her gaze. He saw hope and weight in her eyes. "I will go with you," he vowed. "We will bring life back to your people." The archivist pressed a palm to his heart. "May the old spirits guide you," he whispered. He handed them a leather-bound map. The map showed winding paths through the rocky valley. Erin took it respectfully. "Thank you," he said. They left the grand archive and stepped into the warm courtyard. Sunlight filtered through banners high above. Guards bowed as they passed. Whispers followed them. "They carry the prophecy." Erin squeezed Aurea's hand. "I did not know fate would guide me here," he admitted. Aurea smiled softly. "We write our own story now," she said, "but the prophecy gives us our path." Together, they walked toward the eastern gates. Beyond lay the silent valley and the broken bridge. The palace bells tolled, marking their journey's start. In that moment, two worlds stood on the brink of hope and healing, bound by an ancient promise. Late that afternoon, Emperor Valrios called a meeting of the High Council. The grand hall filled with noble lords and ladies. Tall columns rose to a painted ceiling. Torches burned bright along the walls. At the far end, Valrios sat on his throne. Princess Aurea and Erin stood before him. The crystal vessel and the leather map lay on a low table between them. The emperor spoke in a clear voice. "Council members, we face a turning point. A human and our princess stand ready to find the stone bridge. They bring an ancient prophecy that may save our lands. Do you grant this expedition?" He lowered his gaze to the nobles. A gray-robed counselor rose first. "Your Highness, I fear danger," she said. "The eastern valley is wild and empty. We risk many lives for an old tale." She shook her head. "We have lost men before. Why trust a human's word?" A younger lord stood next. He wore emerald robes that matched Aurea's eyes. "I support the mission," he said. "We have no choice. Our wells run dry. Our people grow weak. If the prophecy is true, this journey may bring rain again." He bowed to Aurea. "I will lead the guards who go with you." Murmurs rose among the council. Some whispered fear, others whispered hope. Erin felt his heart pulse. He glanced at Aurea. She looked calm and strong. He knew this moment would shape their fate. Princess Aurea stepped forward. "Honored council," she began. Her voice was soft but sure. "I have seen my people suffer. I have stood where rivers once flowed. I know what we risk if we do nothing." She paused and met each noble's eyes. Erin and I share a bond of trust. His world has sent peace, and now he offers courage. She raised the leather map. This tells us the path. I ask you, give us your blessing, that we may heal our land. Silence followed. Noble faces stared at her. Finally, an elder lord in silver robes spoke. If the princess leads, we trust her judgment, he said. But we also trust the prophecy's promise. He looked at the emperor. Let them go. May they succeed where we have failed. Valerios rose and extended his hand. So it is decided, he announced. At dawn, Princess Oriya and Erin Kale will depart with a small guard. The journey will follow the old map to the stone bridge. He turned to Erin. You have my full support, human envoy. Erin bowed deeply, chest full of pride and relief. The counselors bowed in turn. Torches flickered as they rose. Erin and Oriya exchanged a quick glance. Neither spoke, but each felt a surge of hope. The hall emptied around them, and the great doors closed with a soft thud. Outside, cool evening air greeted them. Erin held the map in his hands. Oriya touched his arm. We begin tomorrow, she said. Her pale eyes reflected torchlight. Rest now, friend. Tomorrow, we write our destiny. Erin nodded. He looked once more at the grand hall before them. Soon, they would leave the palace and face unknown lands. Under the dark sky, two worlds waited for the dawn. In that quiet moment before their quest, promise and purpose shone brighter than any torch. Before sunrise, the palace stirred with quiet activity. Courtiers murmured softly, and guards sharpened their spears. Erin checked the leather map one last time. Its worn edges showed years of use. Dawnlight filtered through high windows, painting the hall in pink and gold. Princess Oriya entered, dressed in light armor of silver and teal. Her hair was bound back, and her pale eyes shone with resolve. She carried the crystal vessel containing the peace liquid. Erin rose and bowed as she approached. It is time, he said. Oriya nodded and clipped a small pouch to his belt. Take this, she whispered. Seeds from our sacred grove. If we heal the land, plant them at the bridge. Erin slipped the pouch into his pocket and met her gaze. Together, he said. Always. They led a small group of loyal guards through the palace gates. The morning air was crisp. Behind them, the towering spire of the palace glowed in the new light. Ahead lay the eastern valley, a vast land of rocky hills and dry riverbeds. The journey began on a worn path. Guards marched in pairs, torches held high. Erin and Oriya rode side by side on pale horses. Their mounts' breath misted in the cool air. Erin studied the map and pointed toward distant peaks. The bridge lies past those hills, he said. Oriya followed his finger. We must cross the valley floor by midday, she replied. The prophecy says sunrise, but we may reach the bridge in time. The valley was silent. Jagged rocks cast long shadows. Dry dust rose under the horses' hooves. Erin felt the weight of every mile. He thought of his home on earth, green forests and singing rivers. He missed the sound of water on stone. He glanced at Oriya and saw determination in her face. After a slow ride of 2 hours, they reached a broken road. Tall pillars rose like sentinels at its sides. The guards dismounted and cleared stones from the path. Oriya dismounted too. This is near the bridge, she said softly. Erin joined her and spread the map on a rock. The crystal vessel at her side glowed with pale light. They walked forward together. Erin felt soft soil under his boots, an odd find in this dry place. Small green shoots peeked through cracks in the earth. A spark of hope fluttered in his chest. He knelt and examined the shoots. Life remains here, he whispered. Oriya placed her hand on his shoulder. The land remembers, she said. We must awaken it. She lifted the crystal vessel and uncorked it. The glowing liquid flowed into the soil around the stones. It shimmered as it touched the earth. Erin took a small handful of the sacred seeds and scattered them along a stone pillar. Each seed fell into the softened ground. They stood side by side, watching the magic of two worlds work together. In that quiet moment, the air hummed softly. Tiny sprouts unfurled around the pillars, and the cracked earth drank the peace liquid. A gentle breeze rose from the valley floor, carrying the scent of new growth. Princess Oriya and Aaron smiled at each other. Their bond had fulfilled the ancient promise. Around them, guards watched in awe. The valley, long silent, began to whisper once more. Two worlds, human and alien, stood united in hope and friendship. Their new alliance, born of courage and trust, promised a future where life would flourish under both sun and star.